I used to throw a lot with Castle, Leinart, because all the LA
Love
guys,
Leinart.
Russell Wilson, Carson Palmer, Jared Goff. Did you throw with any other quarterbacks?
I've really never really have, man. I mean, I always was loyal to my quarterbacks, Jules. Unlike you, that's why, Tom loves me the most. He knew you're going out to LA and
threw
throwing
Hoy.
with 50 different quarterbacks.
Jimmy G.
The only other quarterback
Stidham.
in my whole entire career that I threw with was Jameis Winston one time.
Where?
In Tampa.
In Tampa?
I was in Tampa for an appearance, and I ran into him. And then he's like, yo, I'm throwing tomorrow. You want to throw some routes? And I was like, not a problem, my man. Let's throw some routes. I just met him real quick. That's all we really talked about. I showed up, and we threw some routes, man. And it was just great. But what I really liked about him, that he was intrigued that Tom Brady was my quarterback, and he kept asking me questions about Tom because he wanted to learn from Tom. And
what'd you tell him?
And I just said, hey, this is what Tom does. This is how he places the ball.
You
I just
told
gave him
Tom's
a little
information?
bit.
See, that's
just a little bit.
I
didn't
never
go into
said
depth
anything.
too far. But
Everyone asked me, hey, what's Tom? I said, you. I'm not telling you.
I never went into depth too far, Jules.
I'm not
okay?
telling you. Welcome to Dudes on Dudes. I'm Julian Edelman.
I'm Rob Gronkowski.
And this is the show where your favorite dudes talk about their favorite dudes.
We're in the midst of the playoffs, and we're talking about it. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl?
Who are we talking about today?
One of the league's best trash talkers that's now a head coach.
Vrabes was always at the helm of these crazy stories that just floated around the Patriots locker room. A dude that might be getting old, but can still sling it.
He's one of the most talented quarterbacks, I would say, to ever play the game. He has elite arm strength. There is no doubt about that. And a ton of NFL playoff talk.
Jaden Daniels, that dude is smooth as butter. They gave the Lions a little dose of the Lions. They went on it for fourth and capitalized every single time.
And we wrap it up by naming our Chillest Dudes of the Week, presented by Coors Light.
Let's go.
Dudes on Dudes is a production of iHeartRadio.
What a crazy, crazy divisional round weekend.
If you're a football fan, you definitely loved watching some football last weekend. I mean, the divisional round was everything that you hoped for, especially on Sunday. 2 games down to the wire, basically to the last play or the last final minute of the game. I mean, the Los Angeles Rams game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, when there was like 5 minutes left in the game and Saquon Barkley ran that, went off for that, 60-plus yard touchdown.
It's like every week.
I was literally like, game's over. I was texting all my friends in the group chat, game over, game over. And then you're like, nah, you can never count out Stafford. You can never count out McVay. And then what do you know? I'm still sitting there, nah, it's over. They can't make that comeback. What do you know? What do they do? They go down and score a touchdown, super fast. But my question is, they were so urgent on that drive, but they couldn't score on the other drives in the second half, and they weren't really playing with urgency. So why not play with that urgency the whole entire game instead of waiting until the last 4 minutes of the game?
You kept talking about that.
I
remember when we were watching, you were saying they should have went NASCAR, no huddle earlier because what it essentially does is it tires out that defensive line group and it traps that team on the field. So then they don't get to sub in fresh guys all the time. And they were struggling getting that defensive line picked up, and they had some bad couple drives. What they threw with a pick. There was the fumble, right? Was there a fumble?
There was something. There was a couple turnovers.
There was 2 turnovers in a row, and then they turned it on, and it was almost one drive too late. But I think
it was one drive too late. But they would have won that game if it wasn't for the absolute stud that they have on the defensive side of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he was the #1 overall draft pick, or at least top 5 for the Eagles, and that's Jalen Carter.
Monster.
Everyone else was tired besides
dropped,
that guy.
remember?
And
he had some pre-draft shit, and Howie Roseman picked him up like it was a fucking steal at 8 or something.
And if you break down that play as well, there was a couple guys open. The Los Angeles Rams would have won that game if it wasn't for Carter. If he didn't sack Stafford, there were some guys that were wide open that Stafford could have just easily flicked the ball to, and that would have been game right there. And that would have been one of the best comebacks in playoff history, especially on the road in Philly, cold, snowy, freaking unbelievable football conditions for football fans. That's what you want to see. That's what was so cool about the games on Sunday too.
Well,
snowy.
Two snow games.
It wasn't snowy at the beginning of the games, and then snowing in the middle of the game, and then there was
Always
snow all
visually
over the
great.
field. And I feel like what was cool is that it didn't affect the players at all. either a couple of the players. I don't want to individualize anyone there, but overall, just as a team, that cold weather didn't mentally drain anyone. Everyone that went out there and played solid football and gave it their all, which is great to see as a football fan.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think the weather affected anyone. I didn't see very many slips. Yeah, there were some drops in that Raven game. I feel terrible for Mark Andrews.
Man.
He had a
Mark Andrews, man.
He had a bad day at the office.
Great guy.
And he
great
works his
player
tail
as
off.
well.
Yeah.
One of the all-time great Baltimore Ravens. He leads the franchise in touchdown receptions as well. I feel bad for him, man, and hopefully I'm praying for him in the future that he gets another chance to redeem himself. And if you keep working hard, Mark, it's going to come. It's that redemption's going to come, and you're going to come through the next time, it comes your way.
But biggest surprise of all, Commanders beating the freaking Lions.
That was the biggest surprise.
That's a freaking,
but the problem is, the Lions, they had 30 different defensive starters start for them this year. Their offense came out, a couple mistakes. If Jared Goff didn't throw that one pick six, it would have been a total different ball game. It would have been a lot closer. But you got
12 man,
12
men in the huddle.
Too. How crazy was that?
They beat themselves. Like the Lions, I argue that maybe that bye week took them off their feng shui, as I always like to say.
How about though? This just shows how great Tom is as a quarterback, because even when he was up in the booth, he was calling out, "Hey, 12 men on the field, 12 men on the field." And when we were playing in games, how many times did Tom take advantage when there was 12 guys on the field and try to hurry up and snap the ball because he knew it was a free play? That's how just how much awareness he had, because he knew where we all were on the field. He knew what play was going to be on, was called. He knew what the linemen were doing. And then also he was keeping track of how many guys were on the field. Yeah,
because if you see he's watching the defense while he's about to call a play, and if they're bringing in another lineman and that lineman doesn't get off, he'd get us to there and we'd Rambo it. But yeah, there was just too many penalties too many mistakes for the Detroit Lions. And I just remember vividly always hearing in our meetings, more games are lost than won, and playoff football is about the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. Now, you can jump over to the Buffalo and Ravens game, and you could say, Josh Allen didn't have a sexy, crazy game, but Josh Allen didn't make any mistakes, and they controlled the game, and they didn't turn the ball over, while Baltimore turned the ball over a few times and beat themselves. It's usually the team that makes the least amount of mistakes, executes the best in situational football, is the team that wins, and that was on display this divisional round.
Ravens versus Bills. Did the Bills win that game, or did the Ravens lose the game?
I think it's a combination of both. The Bills went out and won that game. They made plays, they made sacks, no mistakes.
And then Ravens made a couple mistakes.
There was drop balls, there was fumbles, there was interceptions.
You can feel that the Ravens were the better team, but they just didn't come through in the clutch situations. So
not the better team that day.
Not the better team that day. So it's both in that category. The Bills did do everything they needed to do to win and didn't make the mistakes, but the Ravens also hurt themselves. So how about, all right, let's go through all the games. Chiefs versus Texans. Did the Texans beat themselves, or did the Chiefs really win the game because they were a better team?
I think that's just a team. Chiefs just did what the Chiefs do. It seemed like, they had 23 days off. They seemed like they started a little slow. They put it together at the end. You don't cover Travis Kelce, the postseason leader in every category almost, or he's going to be, and you let a guy like him just go scot-free in the middle of the field. I think the Chiefs went out and beat, you can't do those kind of things and think you're going to beat the Chiefs.
I agree.
You can't turn the ball over and think you're going to beat the Chiefs. Chiefs are too good.
Commanders versus Lions.
And Commanders, Lions?
Yeah. Come on. I think the Commanders won the game.
They won that game.
It's not like the Lions lost the game.
How many times did they go 4 on 4th?
The Commanders deserved to win that game. And on top of that, they put their foot on the gas pedal for the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and they finished it off by giving it a turbo boost as well, within the fourth quarter to get them over that hump versus the Lions. So the Commanders won that game fair and square. It wasn't like the Lions lost it.
They gave the Lions a little dose of the Lions. They went on it for fourth and capitalized every single time. Jaden Daniels, that dude is smooth as butter, as room temperature butter.
And then Rams versus Eagles. Eagles win that game, or did the Rams, cost himself that game and lose it.
I mean, there was turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
If the Rams didn't turn the ball over,
I would say this is like the Ravens versus Bills. This is a combination of both. The Eagles deserve to win this game because of the running game. They didn't really have any turnovers, did they?
No.
Yeah,
who?
They were pretty sound.
Who?
The Eagles.
No, they didn't turn the ball over.
They were pretty sound in that department. But the Rams, couple turnovers.
They had that Jalen Hurts.
They did. He almost
fumble.
did. But he didn't turn it over. The Rams, a couple turnovers, and then still had a chance.
Jalen be holding that thing like a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still have nightmares in the Super Bowl. When he had a great game, but they had a scoop and score fumble for a touchdown. Like, he's had a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we gotta tighten that up, bro. I lost $50,000 on you guys from that game. Okay. All right. Let's
make
talk
another
about
bet. Make another bet.
Yeah.
Make up for it, baby.
What
got
about
it?
Let's jump like real quick.
Championship
weekend.
All right, here we go.
Bills Chiefs.
We got the Bills Chiefs. That's going to be a heck of a game. That's going to be a rematch of this year. The Chiefs actually have beaten the Bills 3 times in like the last 4 years, I think it was, in the postseason. And the Bills always beat them in the regular season. So this is huge for Buffalo. The city of Buffalo is absolutely turned up right now. And the Bills, Mafia, they're not really big fans of me right now because I chose Baltimore, to win because I said, defense wins big games in the cold weather. And the defense for the Baltimore Ravens were playing at an exceptional level over the last 6 weeks. And also when you can run the ball and with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry out of the backfield, that's the reason why I went with the Baltimore Ravens. And let me tell you, I'm hearing it from the Buffalo fans right now. I'm hearing it from my family who lives in Buffalo. I'm hearing it from my friends. They're sending me that emoji middle finger over to me. But they got to understand, I was doing the reverse psychology.
That's a reverse jinx. Reverse
psychology trick. I really wanted the Buffalo Bills to win. I'm from Buffalo. I was always a Buffalo fan growing up. So let me tell you, I want the Kansas City Chiefs to win again.
Another reverse jinx?
Yes, another reverse jinx. The Kansas City Chiefs, how can they stop Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce? And how can they block Chris Jones at the defensive tackle spot?
Well, they haven't done it in the playoffs.
And they've never done it before in the playoffs. So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs once again, coming up this weekend versus Buffalo.
It's hard to bet against the Chiefs in this spot. I was really impressed with the Bills defense. They took the ball away against the Ravens a couple times. They played tight defense. They tackled well for the most part. I mean, that's a small everyone in goddamn TV, podcasts, internet talks about how small that defense was. Well, and they only gave up how many points? 20 something points to the Ravens, which have been on fire. This Eagles Commanders.
Hold on. Before the Bill, you're talking about the Bills defense. There's a huge difference maker that came back this year, and it is Milano. I played versus that guy, and I didn't really know who he was.
He was young still.
He was young, and I had a beat up back when I played him that one game. I had like one catch, and I couldn't even move. But like I could still tell when you're a great player.
Yeah.
Even if anyone can cover me that day, but I was literally ran a route, and I'm like, who is this linebacker covering me? Like this guy is sharp. Even though I wasn't sharp that game, but I could still tell.
College.
I was like, this guy's sharp. Milano, you are the true difference maker for the Buffalo Bills right now. Welcome the Bills Mafia. Welcome Milano back. He is truly a game changer for you guys.
And he's gotten stronger each week because he tore his bicep, came back, 9-10 weeks, which is incredible.
Back to the Commanders Eagles.
Back to the Commanders Eagles. I've been tough on the Eagles all year.
You have been. Why? Explain why. Why have you been tough on the Eagles, Jules?
We've never seen a team with as many distractions as they've had go out and win a Super Bowl.
I can name a team that has, and that's the New England Patriots.
Yeah, but they don't have Tom Brady.
Okay, fine. Yeah, okay. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Distractions don't mean anything. It's like water, like just flowing off the shoulder.
You're talking about the arguably the best quarterback coach combo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that can't be the same. The same cannot be said about the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
And you can tell that with Coach Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, like all the outside distractions affect them. Like,
it hasn't since he shaved his head.
A little.
They've been proving me wrong
at the beginning.
They've been proving me wrong each and every week, and I think it's because of Saquon, man. I'm super happy for Saquon. He's been a fucking monster. It's about time people putting him up there with the greats. He just never played with a good offensive line. You give him a good offensive line for the first time in his life, and he's doing what he's doing. I mean, he is a true difference maker that's masking a lot of problems. I love watching A.J. Brown play, but there's some shit going on with that whole thing. AJ's reading books on the side. Like, we've never seen stuff like that. What team have you seen these kind of things happen and go out and win a Super Bowl? And that's where they've played their standard too. It's either Super Bowl or bust for them because they're that good of an organization.
They really are.
So that's me like saying it's just hard for me to say that they're going to go out, but I think they're going to beat up on the Commanders.
That's a hot take, Jules, man.
I thought the Commanders were going to beat last week, but they beat the shit out of Detroit. Football is best.
I mean, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game because of their offensive line. I mean, the absolute beastly there. I mean, their smallest guy is their center, Jurgen, and he's 6'3", 320 pounds. All the other guys, even their guards, are above 6'6". I never seen guards that are 6'6", 6'8", and 340 pounds. When we were in New England, Coach Belichick loved the guards that were about 6'2", 290 to 310. They weren't that big of guys at all, but they were very mobile. But this offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles, Lane Johnson, 6'8", 340.
Quarterback in high school.
Absolute beast as well. They're athletic, and they don't take no shit. They're fighters out there. They're street fighters, this offensive line. That's why I'm going with the Eagles. But the Commanders, I'm super impressed with them this year. Jaden Daniels has been doing things that you never seen done by a rookie quarterback ever before. And all the skill players as well, they kind of started off a little shaky at the beginning of the year, but the vets have picked it up big time. Like Zach Ertz, he's been coming through, in phenomenal situations. Eckler has picked it up out of the backfield as well. And McLaurin, he's been McLaurin throughout his whole career. It doesn't matter what quarterback he has, but it just shows when he has a real connection with a quarterback how good he really is.
You know what? You got to tip your cap to Dan Quinn. I mean, this coach has been to a Super Bowl with another team already, and then goes to a very bad situation in outside land looking in with the Washington Commanders, which this organization's been a disaster. I mean, we got stadiums falling down, ownership, whatever, a lot of craziness. And they go in and they're going to the NFC Championship in the first year with the rookie quarterback. Dan Quinn, that's pretty awesome. Also, big question mark. Is Cliff Kingsbury going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Ooh.
Is he going to?
Well, I can tell you this. It should have been Dan Quinn. He should have stayed in Dallas for one more year, and then with McCarthy gone, Jerry Jones messed that up.
I think Dan Quinn
should have paid Dan
right where
Quinn
he
when
wants
he was
to
in
be.
Cowboys. He is right where he wants to be, but I'm just giving a theoretical of what could have possibly happened. And if Dan Quinn could have been promoted to head coach, because I believe the Dallas Cowboys tanked this year, not on purpose. They just tanked because Dan Quinn left to be the head coach of the Washington Commanders. And you look how good on defense they were over the last couple of years. And then Dan Quinn leaves, and then they weren't really playing up the par this year, Jules. And Michael Parsons even said something about Dan Quinn leaving as well, that they missed him big time about halfway through the season this year. So tip your hat to Dan Quinn as well. He's doing a phenomenal job.
Hey, you see the TNT inside the NBA talking about us?
That's when you know we were a freaking awesome team, is when NBA and TNT is still bringing our plays up.
We did have
we were ballers, bro.
Yeah. Oh, you look at that monster Gronkowski.
Yeah, that's right, Barkley.
We're going to do the Charles Barkley. You're the linebacker.
How do they know it was Charles Barkley?
So earlier, Coach Belichick was on with him over Zoom live, and Coach Belichick broke down the whole play and how this all got brought up because Charles Barkley talked about how he was at a practice when we were in Atlanta for the Super Bowl when we were about to play the Rams. Remember, Charles Barkley was there, and it was so cool to see him at practice. I was talking to him for a little bit.
Chuck!
Come on, Charles.
Chuck!
First off, your three-point stance looks like shit, Charles. And Shaq wants to fight me. Shaq, look how slow you are, bro. I accept that fight right here, right now, anytime, anywhere, any place.
I'll be your cut guy.
I don't even have to train if I'm fighting you, Shaq. I mean, I just watched you here on NBA, on TNT playing linebacker.
He's big, man.
You're slower than an ant. I'm fighting you. I accept.
Chuck has to bring it across the field. There was one post safety.
Those hands, too. Chuck.
Those guys they're older now.
Chuck,
though.
I thought you were like a rebounder and like a passer and like
These guys are older guys.
The pass was 4 yards, and it went off his hands.
Ernie looking like Tom back there.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Let's see.
He caught it that time. You know, he just needed a little practice. Oh, all right, Charles. You can
That's an old school spike, though.
That's
like how
a little bit more.
That was an
power on the
80s spike because you remember if you watch 80s football players back in the day, they used to spike it right here like that. So
Well,
I mean, that's probably what he saw.
That's a 7 out of a 10 on the spike, but it's an old school spike, and Charles Barkley is old school, so I give it a 7.5 now. We called Tom before this to talk about it. Charles Barkley was a 3-by-1. We knew it was Pearl Smash, but we forgot the formation. It was 3-by-1 with the running back here. It was play action, Pearl. So the outside guy would have a curl route. The 2 receiver would have a wheel, and Gronk would have either a cross. When I hear Pearl, I'll either have a cross if it's 1 high, or I'll have
safety,
or I'll have a little seam read if it's 2 high with 2 safeties.
Keep it wide, go to the near upright.
Because then I would go right down the middle of them.
And then the backside guy has a flag to take everything and try to get people to come over there. So if Gronk brings it across, there's openness with the running back coming out and angling to the left. So Charles Barkley, NASCAR term that we use so many times, and that was the play you would see. That was probably after a big play, and we ran up to the line of scrimmage.
Because you're trying to go as fast as possible to keep the defense, off balance.
And on the field.
On the field, so they can't really rotate any players in and out.
Getting tired.
Yeah, they're tired, and then I get to just be – and then what's so great about it, too, is that it's usually off of a big run, so they think you're going to run again as well. We hurry up to the line, and that's when my blocking skills – and my blocking abilities help me big time in the pass game as well, because then they think it's going to be another run because I can block pretty solid. The linebackers step up, and I go right behind them. I find that open hole, depending if it's post safety or if it's too high, and then boom, Tom just fakes it real quick. And he always just pops right up after a fake. He wastes no more time. Sometimes he doesn't even look anywhere else. No. He's just side-eyeing what the linebackers are doing. He just turns around and whop, he just gives that quick flick of a wrist, and boom, he hits me, and then I just do my magic from there. I probably have about half of my yards in my career from that play.
Charles
Barkley. Amen to you. And Coach Belichick said, hey, Charles Barkley asked him, hey, why did you guys call it Charles Barkley? You want to know what Coach Belichick said?
What did he say?
Because it always works. Just like Charles Barkley back in the day. Yeah, and Jules, thinking about it, that was all brought up because Coach Belichick was on Chuck's and Ernie's podcast. And that's how that play started. Are you still
I wonder if he got paid for that one.
Are you still holding a grudge that Bill has not come on games with names yet?
No, I don't hold grudges.
I like that.
I don't hold grudges.
Well, I like you.
To a man that gave me I understand where I sit in his world. You
don't have enough money to pay him to
just
come
a
on.
guy that he drafted, that he developed. One of the only good at my position that he drafted. So receiver.
That's a good point.
Receiver.
Yeah.
Made him
draft receivers in the 7th
but
round,
hey, Coach,
and then he'll hit.
We love it though.
That'll hit every time. Then
we love you, Coach.
Yeah, maybe one day you'll go on games with names, Coach. I'll be watching.
Or Dudes on Dudes. And before we get into the show, we have a big announcement. Drum roll.
Oh, out of left field.
We've linked with Coors Light. They'll be sponsoring the show, our Chillest Dude of the Week segment, and a whole lot more. It's going to be chill, boys.
Hold on. I need a beer. I need a Coors Light. Choo-choo.
The mountains are cold. Ain't nothing like a Colorado Kool-Aid.
Delicious, refreshing, and quenches my thirst.
Nutritious
Coors
and delicious.
Light. Choo-choo. Cold as the Rockies.
Man, it's a little early for a beer, but it tastes so good when it hits your lips.
Hey, there's no such time as too early for a beer when you're a beer drinker, Jules.
Let's go.
Mondays are tough, but the Monday after the big game, that's brutal.
I feel that. You're still on the high, then boom, it's back to reality.
Coors Light is turning a case of the Mondays into a literal case of beer with Mondays Light. New, limited time packaging from Coors Light designed to bring chill.
Coors Light's mountain cold refreshment is the best. When those mountains turn blue, you know it's time to chill.
Right, crisp and refreshing as the Rockies.
Whether it's after a long Monday or just to chill, Coors Light's always there. Smooth finish every time. Like last year, I invited some friends over, cracked some Coors Light, and we just hung out. Turned the Monday blues into something awesome.
Cold lagered, cold filtered, cold packaged, perfect sip every time.
You can even get it delivered. Visit CoorsLight.com/dudes and have it delivered straight to your door. You know it's my favorite thing when Coors Light shows up my door.
Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer.
Choose chill this winter and reach for a Coors Light and celebrate responsibly.
Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado, beer. What dude do we have this moment? Here we go, AI summary. Oh, we have a coach here, Jules.
Coach?
This NFL coach and former player stands at 6'4" tall. That's 2 inches shorter than me, and weighs 261 pounds. That is 8 pounds less than me, Jules. Versatile.
278?
8 pounds less than me. He's 261. It's
You're
261 plus 8.
It's 269.
Yes, I'm 269. So I'm 8 pounds more than this coach. A versatile linebacker who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, and Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Can you guess who this is yet, Jules?
I know it is. I know who it is.
After being drafted in the 3rd round in 1997.
97. He's so
Dang.
old.
I was like 8 years old then.
I was like 11.
He won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots, earning first-team All-Pro honors in 2007, known for his tough physical play and leadership on the field. Well, that kind of translates to why he's a coach now. And while also moonlighting as a goal line tight end.
Goal line tight end. More touchdowns than me, I think.
In the Super Bowl.
All right.
But not overall.
No.
Growing up in Akron, Ohio. Oh, Jules, he has some roots with you, man.
Yeah.
You guys are Ohio guys.
Yeah.
He played college football at the Ohio State University. After retiring as a player, he transitioned to coaching, serving as a head coach in the NFL for 6 seasons before taking on his current role as a head coach of the
New England Patriots.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. And this dude,
Let's get on Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel, ladies
Hit the
and
clock.
gentlemen. Hey, Jules, what's the first thing you think of when you hear the name Mike Vrabel?
First thing that comes to my mind is just a tough guy. He's just a tough.
How tough?
Like, and actually, the first thing that comes to my mind is an asshole. Asshole. Because he just, I mean.
A tough asshole.
A tough asshole.
Okay, there we go.
We never played with Vrabes, but because of how legendary he
We've
was.
only heard stories.
The stories were always about like 3 people. Vrabel, Brewski, and Izzo. And like Vrabes was always at the helm of these crazy stories that just floated around the Patriots locker room. Busting balls, that comes to my head. Like you always kind of remember hearing how Vrabes would get on to Brady and Brady would get on Vrabes and those wars at practice. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
A tough SOB, a football player.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that has knowledge of the game as a player and as a coach. And he's from Ohio. And let me tell you, Ohio football is underrated. And you learn a lot about, football and who you are, as a person as well when you grow up in the state of Ohio. How do I know that? Because I played my senior year in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh was a big rival. Just the state of Pennsylvania was a big rival to the state of Ohio.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you got the Pittsburgh versus Ohio, whatever that, all-star game was.
There's an all-star game, yeah.
And just have, just our
Tough people.
tough players
Roots.
come out of the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania. They're very similar. They're kind of underrated compared to, you always hear about Florida, California, Texas. Oh, that's where all the stars
Georgia.
come from. But all the tough guys come from, the upper east, in the U.S., like Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. But he's a football guy, football legend.
Wait a minute. Did you just try to throw New York football?
Yeah, I threw New York in
Did you
there.
just try to sneakily throw New York football
I
to
did.
tough guys?
Yeah, because I'm from Buffalo, and I went to, like I said, I went to Pittsburgh.
I'll let that slide.
To Woodland
I'll let
Hills
that
my
slide.
senior year. But, yeah, Buffalo, they got some tough SOBs here, I'm telling you. They got They got me. They got my brother who played in the NFL, my other brother who played in the NFL too. And yeah, we're rolling, baby. We're rolling. But,
freaking Vrabes.
What stands out to me when we were talking about him the other day, though, is how he was drafted in the 3rd round to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
When you told me that fact. And it was kind of shocking to me because I thought he was a New England Patriot from day one because of just all the stories that you heard about him, just the way that he played the game when he was in New England and what he did for, the Patriots as well. So I had absolutely no clue that he got drafted to the Steelers. Can you tell me how that happened as well, how he got to New England? Because you kind of were telling me a little bit about
Well, he was a
that too.
teamer. I mean, he played at Pittsburgh. I think he was drafted in 97, was a special teamer. And then I think once he became a free agent, Bill really wanted him or something. Was that it? Yeah. So
why does Bill have this nag of just finding these white dudes that just want to play football, just work hard, and they're not so good at the moment? And then he just blossoms them. I think there's a guy sitting next to me like that. I mean, me too, kind of.
That's his project. Ninkovich. Ninkovich was a long snapper.
Welker in Miami. I mean, what was he? Just kind of a punt returner?
Yeah, but I think he had 70 catches. He had a big year. He had a big year at Miami.
Not like a huge year like he had in New England for all those years, but he had a decent, solid year in Miami.
No, but yeah, Mike was the guy that Bill always used to reference. You think you're smart. You're not no Vrabel. And that's when you know someone's a smart football player is when Bill's referencing him in motherfucking you.
Mm-hmm.
That was always kind of one thing that stuck out. And then just hearing from Jimmy Whalen, the training staff, on how Vrabel was in the locker room, held court. It was him and Willie Mack and Brew. There was the holy trinity of guys that everyone had to walk through that kept everyone accountable. And I'm really, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited for this new generation of Patriots. Now, with that said, I still think the whole Mayo situation, that he got the short end of the stick on this. And I feel terrible for him. And I think he's going to do well. But, that really wasn't set up to really succeed.
Not at all. I think it was a little bit unfair. But shout out to Mayo because he's a great coach. He knows the game of football tremendously. And, I just think that it wasn't set up properly for him. And I feel like he's going to have some success in the future, you know, with another organization and possibly be another head coach down the road, once he gets his foot back on the gas pedal.
But Vrabel coming in now, all this stuff that you hear, keeping guys accountable, he's going to be the first to do it. And he can get away with saying things to guys the way he says it because he did it. He played it, and he's just as smart as the guys that coached him at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you have all those things, and he's a burly motherfucker. He's a big man. When you shake his hands wrap to your wrist. He's got big-ass hands.
Strength.
Man strength. I still think he got 4 or 6 plays in him.
Mm-hmm.
You think he could play right now? 4 or 6 plays.
Yeah, 4 to 6 plays. That offensive package the New England Patriots had for him. And talking about that offensive package, I think he had 10 catches his whole entire career for 10 touchdowns. So his ratio from catch to TD is 100%, best of all time.
Insane.
And that's just how smart of a player he was, is that he knew how to get open on the offensive side of the ball, and then on top of it, on the defense side of the ball. I mean, just creative and just how good he was, just knowing the game.
You know what makes me so sad, though?
What's sad?
Because
what makes you sad? Now you're making me sad.
No, it makes me sad because we always hear about the stories about Brady when he was the young guy on the team, and how Vrabel and Bruschi and all these guys used to motherfuck him, and it was
and picked on Tom
and picked on him. Mm-hmm. It was a completely different Tom that we played with. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't. There was only a couple guys that really could jaw with Tom. But everyone was so scared to do it. And Tom would be hungry to jaw with people, talk shit. But, everyone was so scared to talk shit to Tom because he was already Tom by then. It almost makes me man, I wish we got to see him in those early stages where you were more kind of part of the boys instead of him being, the older brother, guy figure. You understand?
And Vrabel was like that older brother figure to Tom.
Yeah.
And we didn't get to see any of that. We got to see the Tom where he was our older brother. And it would have been amazing to be a part of that crew. But we were just the second, era of the New England Patriots. But there were so many times, like you said, in the training room and the coaches that were around Vrabel, like, oh, you would have loved the guy so much. You would have loved to play with him.
Yeah.
He gives it all. He gives it his all out on the field. I mean, he's a guy that you want to be friends with as well in the locker room because he's just fun to be around. But also at the same time, he's going to go all out for you out on the field. I mean, he was a grinder. I mean, gritty. Great size as a player, and he was an inside-outside threat as a player out there, out in the field. And I think that's why Bill loved him so much because how versatile he was. A special teamer, he could play inside backer and outside backer. And when Bill gets a guy like that, he utilizes their skill in so many different aspects of the game, and he makes you a tremendous player, and he blossoms you like no other. And that's why Bill loves those type of guys when he can get them in free agency.
1,000%. Think about it. Like, he's played on every phase of the game at a high level in an important game. He's been a teamer. So, like, when he's addressing the team and he's watching fucking the film or having, like, a highlight thing that he's probably presenting the team, he can break down guy for guy because he's done it at the pro level. On defense, he knows everything about defense because he basically was in the school of doctorates on the defense through Belichick, learning through him, and then actually being on the field and experiencing it is another way he gets to coach guys. And then in offense, like, yeah, he was on a package or two, but I remember going and going on the other side of the ball when I had to play corner. Like, even being in those meeting rooms for the little amount of time that I was, it opened up my mind so differently on how I thought about offense when I went back to offense and how I was attacking the defense. He's done that on offense. So, like, he can break down the whole game, and he's a masculine figure that's going to make you do it right. And if you don't, he's going to motherfucker you, get rid of you. He's going to make people accountable. That's how it was. The Patriot way, that it was developed through these guys.
I mean, and just talking about his knowledge of the game and just the mastermind he has within the rule book of the NFL as well. Remember in the 2019 playoffs, Vrabel intentionally took a 12-man on the field penalty just to keep Brady off of the field. I mean, he kind of outplayed Belichick in that situation because Belichick was the master of knowing the rules inside and out and using that to his advantage. And this is a time when Vrabel used it to his advantage, and it was against the mastermind, Coach Belichick. So
I learned
pretty incredible by him to do that.
I learned about that little mastermind bullshit is when we went to the Kentucky Derby one year, and he was my handicapper for the horses, and I made like 20 grand. Like, Vrabel loves like that kind of shit. We were sitting there, and I have no clue on how to gamble these horses, and Vrabel's over here, got his dip in. I think he had a cigarette, maybe a shot or two in him. And he's fucking
cigarette.
Yeah, he was smoking cigs with the dip in. I'm not joking. Cigs with the dip.
Think I love this guy now.
And we go to the little thing where you have to put your shit in, and I'm like, Raves, what I do? He's like, don't worry, Edelman, I got you. You know, he fucking puts them on there. We hit a 3-thing parlay or something. He's just a smart guy. He's a smart guy that like can beat you up.
What's the biggest thing in year one that he has to emphasize in New England? What do you think, Jules?
Well, you got to get some linemen. You got to get some linemen.
That's a good point right there.
They got a whole lot of money to spend. Now, knowing Mike through the years that I've known him, I'm sure he took this job knowing that he is going to be able to spend some money.
He's in a great situation heading into his first year. Obviously, he's got Drake May, who's an unbelievable quarterback. He's going to develop him to best of his potential, no doubt about that.
Who's he bringing in on OC?
I would say Josh McDaniels. I would love to see Josh McDaniels go there, but he has to go through the whole process. Maybe he has a guy or two out there that he's thinking about bringing in, but he's going through all that hiring process, interviewing.
I think that would be great.
But Josh McDaniels would be the best fit.
Because Josh ain't going anywhere.
He ain't.
And he loves it there.
I believe Josh is one of the best offensive coordinators in the league as well. I mean, he knows how to develop players. He helped develop
me,
Tom. He developed you, developed
Tom.
me, put me in the right situations all the time when I was in New England. Knows how to relate to guys as well, which is really good. I mean, You need that, with these young bucks these days.
I mean, he made
made
Mac Jones a Pro Bowler
in his rookie year. Then he left, and then ain't no Pro Bowler from there on out.
No, there hasn't been.
I'll contribute all that to most of that to McDaniels. McDee's. I like that name. I never heard that.
I don't know.
What about Vrabel? He took Ryan Tannehill out of Miami. Everyone thought he was going to be out of the league, and he basically made him into a Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Basically got the #1 seed in the playoffs and almost made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
A couple years with him too. So he knows how to develop quarterbacks. He knows how to get the best out of guys because he brings that type of energy, on the field, in the meeting rooms to get the best out of players. And that's why I hear about Vrabel, and that's why people love playing for him out of the guys that I know in Tennessee.
I think you just feel safe when you're around him. I feel safe.
I feel
like whenever we hang out, we've gone out and done things together, I just feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
He's just burly. He's also got the wit and like the strategy to, like, if some shit were to happen in like a bar or something, like he'd know an escape route, maybe take down like 7-8 people himself and then get us, like, you just feel safe with a guy like Vrabel.
He's the guy you want your daughter to marry, I feel.
I don't know about that.
Oh, all right. Well, I like when you're saying you feel safe around him. I mean, you want your daughter to marry someone that she feels safe around. So you tricked me there, Jules.
Man, I'm excited for him. I'm sad for Mayo. This is really like one of those things where it's like a divorce. I can't. New England keeps on putting him in these goddamn divorces. I feel like a kid that's had like 5 divorced parents.
What, can you explain more?
Well, when Bill Brady, that divorce.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Mayo, freaking Vrabes, that divorce. There's like fucking hella, because we're all like intertwined and it's kind of like incestual.
You're kind of like the redheaded stepchild that's just been there throughout the whole time. That's just takes all the beatings.
Yeah.
But in the end, you're going to still be standing there.
Make it tough.
It does make you tough.
Makes you tough. Man.
And that's why you're the toughest guy I know, Jules.
Also, I'd be crazy to say that, yeah, our last game with Tom Brady, Vrabel beat us.
That's why Vrabel's back.
That's why he's back.
If he didn't win
that game. And I have his cleats over there.
If he didn't win that game, he might not be back. He might not be the head coach of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, maybe he wouldn't. Because maybe he
sent Tom Brady packing in his last game as a New England Patriot.
That's probably his greatest, like,
that's probably
Vrabes,
what he said. The first line in the interview.
Did he say that?
No, I'm just saying I would. But like, hey, Mr. Kraft, who sent Tom packing?
I bet you he said that.
I did. Hire me now.
Vrabes has no filter where he probably would say shit like that. He's the only player to have 2 touchdowns and a sack in a game, offense and defense. I mean, his versatility.
Is there any other coach out there that you think could beat up Vrabel?
I think a good fight would be Dan Campbell and him.
Oh, that's a good point.
But
that's a good point.
I'm taking Vrabes because Vrabes DN. Mm-hmm. Campbell, he was a tight end.
Yeah. So what? What are you saying about tight ends, Jules? They're just not that tough. They're not as tough as DNs. I mean, I agree with you.
You're a one of one, bro.
I agree with you.
You're
tight
a one
ends
of one.
Ain't as tough as DNs. And DNs are beastly, man. DNs are huge. You got to be fearless as a DN.
D'Amico Ryans, he could be in there. They all say McDermott is like a wrestler.
He could be.
Iowa wrestler. But I think Vrabes is a wrestler, too. Mm-hmm. And Vrabes used to go against fucking Steve Neal all the time, which Steve Neal was world champion. So Vrabes already got a little in on that. So I think Vrabes is taking. It's just weight class on McDermott. He may have the skill technique, but Vrabel would swallow him. Oh shit! What kind of dude is Mike Vrabel?
I mean, he's a stud, no doubt about it. His football IQ's up there, the pedigree. He's also a wizard.
He does
basically
look
played every position.
He also has the best chin.
He does.
I mean, he's got the best chin in football, other than like the Coach Coward. Like
that's
he's
being a
taking
stud.
That.
Having a nice chin's a stud.
1,000%. Like he looks like the Ohio guy. When you put Ohio guy in dictionary for like recruit, it's like big white guy, big chin, looks like Mustafa from fucking Beauty and the Beast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I never seen Beauty and the Beast.
Or is that one?
So I don't know.
Gustav.
You know.
Gustav or something. Yeah.
Never seen it.
Freak. I mean, he had like man strength. That's what everyone always talked about. His man strength.
Is that,
He's definitely a dog.
No doubt.
He could be a
Locker
whiz,
room
though.
guy. I was thinking Wiz. I was going to go with Wiz. I mean, just how clutch he was in situations and just how knowledgeable he was in the defensive side of the ball.
Dude.
And then
He's a
playing
dude's
offense.
dude. He's a dude's dude in Patriot world. Like if in Bizarro world, which is not really like everywhere else, where like being an asshole and bullying is like being positive there. So, you know what I mean? That's positive because it makes you accountable. So I wouldn't put him in the overall category of dudes do. I would go on 3. What do you think?
Let's go on 3.
1, 2, 3.
Wiz.
He's definitely a whiz.
I mean, special teamer, knows that game inside and out. Defense, I mean, he clearly played defense, was one of the best out there, one of the toughest, and then knew what to do on the offense side of the ball, too, scoring touchdowns. He's a whiz.
And then also...
He's a whiz.
The fucking Belichicking the Belichick. With the timeouts.
With the 12 men on the field.
12 men on the
keep
field.
Keep Brady off the field.
You know? So...
Wizard.
He's a whiz. Next. Hat off.
Update. News alert. Ben Johnson hired by
Chicago
Bears.
Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears. We have news alert right now in the middle of our show, Dudes on Dudes. And one dude that we never talked about that we will talk about for 30 seconds right now, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions just got hired by the Chicago Bears as their head coach, ladies and gentlemen. What does that mean for Caleb Williams, Jules? Is he going to now have a year like Jaden Daniels did as his rookie year in Washington? I mean, Caleb, I feel like, didn't have anyone around him to blossom as a quarterback. I think it was just a free-for-all in the organization. It was just play callers calling plays, not really developing the first round, the first overall pick. What do you think, Jules, before we get on to this dude?
I mean, Caleb, yeah, if you look at his numbers, he's like got the best passing stats ever for a Chicago Bear quarterback, and he didn't have an offensive line. And his GM, Ryan Pohl's an offensive lineman. Okay, I love that they got Ben Johnson. He's clearly going to bring some sizzle to the offense.
Sizzle.
But we don't know how Ben Johnson is as a culture builder. This team needs a culture builder. They haven't had any kind of success for a long, long time since a culture builder and Mike Ditka went there in 1980. Wherever he went.
Wow.
So, like, I think it's good, but they need to build this team inside out and to give the kid a chance so he can he's a different player than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels can make people miss, and he can mask a lot of things, a lot of bad offensive line play because of his skill set.
And Dan Quinn's a culture builder as well.
And he's a culture builder.
He's been in it for a long time, and he knows how to build the culture. So
I'm hoping for the best.
Ben Johnson, we know you're a wizard. We know you can call plays. But can you build that culture in Chicago? We hope so, because the Bears need to be back for the sake of the NFL.
They do.
So now let's get back to our dude.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Julian Edelman.
And I'm Rob Gronkowski.
Sometimes you need to bring your A game when the moment strikes. And the secret, Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks are a dual-action prescription treatment designed to help give you better, more spontaneous sex.
Ooh. And they're dissolvable. Just pop one under your tongue, let it work its magic, and in 15 minutes on average, you're in the game.
That's faster than most 2-minute drills, Jules. Plus, Rose Sparks stays in the game for up to 36 hours. No, you're not stiff-arming it for 2 days straight, but when the mood strikes, you're ready to score.
More confidence, more control, and more satisfaction for both you and your partner.
And Ro makes it easy, too. You connect with a medical provider online, no waiting rooms, no hassle. If approved, your prescription gets shipped right to your door.
And here's the deal. If prescribed, new sexual health patients get $15 off Spark on a reoccurring plan.
Connect with a provider at ro.co/dudes to find out if prescription Rose Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/dudes for $15 off your first order. This NFL quarterback stands at 6'3" and weighs 214 pounds and was selected as the first overall pick in the 2009 draft.
Wow.
The same draft that my brother was drafted in. Dan Gronkowski, 7th round pick to the Detroit Lions.
Same here, too.
He holds the NFL record for being the fastest player to reach 40,000 passing yards and has won a Super Bowl. He grew up in Dallas, Texas, and played at the University of Georgia, where he won the 2008 SEC championship. In high school, he set Texas state records for passing yards and touchdowns and was named Texas Quarterback Player of the Year. When not on the field, he's a fierce competitor in ping pong. I'm telling you this, he won't beat you, he wouldn't beat me, and he wouldn't beat Dami Amendola. And he once claiming a tournament victory among his teammates. Well, we were never his teammates, and that's why this guy will never beat a champion when we're around in ping pong, Jules.
Yeah, I heard he's pretty good.
Let's get on Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford.
Jules, what's the first thing you think of when you hear of Matthew Stafford? I can tell you this. I'll go first.
What do you think?
First overall pick to the Detroit Lions, because that's when I started becoming a true NFL fan, was about 2008, 2009, 2010. I was always an NFL fan, but I really got interested in it and in everything that was going on with the draft because I wanted to get drafted, and that was my ultimate goal. So then when I got to college, I started really particularly paying attention to the draft, and that was truly the first draft I truly paid attention to. Because why? Because I wanted to get drafted eventually. And number two, my brother was in this draft, like I said, and he got drafted to the Detroit Lions as well the same year as Matthew Stafford, going number 1 overall. But my brother was a seventh round pick. I think he was the second last pick overall as well in the draft.
Mr. Irrelevant Eve?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Irrelevant Eve. So it was close to being one of the last picks in the draft. But that's why I know about this guy. I've been following Matthew Stafford his whole entire career, and that's why the Detroit Lions first overall pick is what I first think of when I hear Matthew Stafford. How about you, Julian?
I mean, a tale of two careers.
Mm-hmm.
He started his career in Detroit, and his numbers were always gaudy. He's always been able to sling it, had Megatron, and then the crazy trade after Goff leads the Rams to a Super Bowl. They trade him for Stafford. Stafford comes in first year, wins the Super Bowl, and has been going to the playoffs ever since. I mean, it's crazy to really think about how big the ecosystem is for a guy at the position of quarterback. And you know, it's been a great comeback story. And it really wasn't a comeback story for playing well, but a comeback story for getting to experience winning. I mean, playing in Detroit had to be tough. This is, you know, I know for the young fans, everyone thinks Detroit's been good for these last couple years, but you know, it's been a rough place, historically rough place to play, and for him to get to experience a lot of the success he's had has been really fun to watch. Actually got to throw with him once.
What was that like? I remember you were talking about it because Matthew Stafford got brought up somehow when we were watching one of the games, and then I was just like, Jules, you ever throw with him? Because I know he's been out here in LA a few times, and you're always throwing with 50 different quarterbacks in the offseason when you were playing. I was like, yo, you ever throw with Stafford? And you're like, yeah. So what was that like, Jules?
Dude, he was one of the most impressive just natural throwers I've ever thrown with. I mean, usually, you know, I'd go to Tom House's and his little like camp. Tom would go and throw with him, and then when Tom would leave town, I would still want quarterback throws, so I'd go throw with a bunch of different pros that would be coming in town to work with them. And one day Stafford comes in, and, you know, you go out there, and sometimes guys don't know your timing. You know, everything's timing routes. You know, your big out, your 10 to 12 yard out, your 5 yard out, your curls, your deep posts, your crosses, your seams, post high seam, your middle field open seam. So there's a lot of stuff going. And sometimes, you know, the timing can be off. So guys will miss you here because they don't know how you break down your weight or this, that, and the other routes on air. You know, with him, I think we threw 44 balls, and I think we went 44 for 44. I mean, I don't think a ball touched the ground. Another guy that, like, I was just super impressed with throwing. Like, that's what it was like always with, you know, Brady, because we knew each other. But you go with different guys. Some guys would, they didn't know your body mechanics.
Well,
he did.
Well, that's what makes a great quarterback great, is that they can adjust to the receiver that they're throwing to and be able to pick up their tendencies as well, to be able to place the ball where they need to place the ball because of the way that you're moving out there out on the field as a wide receiver. And that's just the skill set, one of the skill sets that Matthew Stafford has that makes him, so great. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks, I would say, to ever play the game. He has durability as well. He has elite arm strength. There is no doubt about that. What was it like? Was he just like firing bullets to you? Or
flick of wrist.
Just a flick of a wrist.
Flick of a wrist.
It's like he wasn't even trying.
You know those when you run like a deep bow from the slot where you go in 6 up to about 15, roll it over 20, 24?
Mm-hmm.
Like he would do his play action, come off of it, and woo, and that thing would be on a rope.
Mm-hmm.
Like hit you like 4 or 5 yards before the sideline. That's when you could see guys, our arm strength is those outbreaking deep routes when that ball gets up on you. Like he had great ball placement. The ball was always where it had to be. And that's a processing thing. When a guy can process a receiver, he does that very well. What were we watching right before this? The mic'd up.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
When he was on the Detroit Lions, and it just showed his toughness as well. He is one tough mofo.
He's tough mofo.
If you know what a mofo is, that's a mother trucker.
Mofo.
But you take the T word, the T letter, and you switch it with the F. But mofo, mother trucker, but switch the T and F. And I'm pretty sure it was like week 10, week 11, or week 12 in 2009. So I think he was just a rookie.
Was it
so he had to prove
year?
himself. He had to prove himself that he's a tough SOB, and he wanted to change the culture in Detroit, and this is what it takes. And I remember he got this is the era where you can absolutely slam a quarterback still. And let me tell you, that era was just lovely to watch as a fan. Even as a player, you're like, oh man, that quarterback just got smacked, brother. And like
they were driving the weight.
They look like this on the field after every hit too, but they always managed to go back in the game, just like Stafford did. He was laying on the field like this. He got absolutely
all
pummeled.
The weight on him.
All the weight. The
definitely
guy picked
separated
him up.
His shoulder.
I think he separated his non-throwing arm shoulder. They followed him the whole entire time on the clip, and he was just screaming in agony of just pain. And you've been there.
We've all been there.
I've been there. But as a quarterback, you're like, oh, he's done, But Stafford showed his toughness.
Cleveland called a timeout. I don't understand that one.
And then, Jules, explain the rest, what happened from there. He went to the sidelines. They checked him out. They're like, oh, your shoulder. Cleveland called a timeout. And then there was also pass interference in the play. So then it was 1st and goal, I think, with just a couple seconds left on the 1. And they needed a touchdown to win the game. And what happened from there, Jules?
Yeah, he rolled out and he was able to deliver the football. I mean, the guy clearly was in excruciating pain and was able to go out and win the football game. That was impressive, man. That's tough. We've been around some guys that have hurt their non-throwing shoulder that didn't play when they could have played.
Mm-hmm.
And a young guy like him trying to get the respect of his team early in his career. That's how you do it. You get your teeth kicked in, you pick them up, you put them back in your mouth, and you go play the next play. And that's what Matthew Stafford did all his career. Watching his no-look throws, like we all watch Patrick Mahomes. We watch all these guys do the no-look. Joe Burrow. He was doing that 15, 16 years ago.
He was kind of like under the radar, one of the originals to do that.
He was on a shitty team, so you don't get the highlight.
How about him as well? He was played with Calvin Johnson, absolute beast, Megatron. He got him the record for most receiving yards ever in a year. And then he goes to L.A. and then he gives
triple crowns,
Cooper Kupp, which is just unbelievable. Those two definitely couldn't have done it without Stafford as well. I think that's one of the coolest things that Stafford has in his resume, that he could do that. And Jules, you threw with Stafford. Is there any other cool quarterbacks? I talked about you. I know you throw them with a couple quarterbacks here in L.A. Any other QBs that you throw?
I used to throw a lot with Castle. I would throw a lot with Leinart because all the L.A. guys. Russell Wilson, Carson Palmer,
did Russell Wilson throw you?
Herbert was out there a couple times. Never threw with him though.
I want to hear about Russell Wilson's deep ball.
Russell Wilson, he has a great deep ball.
Like? Great deep ball.
Dude, he throws teardrops, man. He throws that thing so high. I was really impressed with his deep ball, too, because I was coming off my ACL. We went to UCLA, and he was in town, and he was trying to get some work in. And he was, I mean, his deep ball, it's a real deal. Like, when everyone talks about it, and you can always tell a really good deep ball is a quarterback that throws it really, really high, and it lets you run in, and it drops right up in that bucket. Like a good deep ball thrower, you'll see the nose of the ball go up, and it'll come down. And I mean, he throws a really good deep ball. Carson used to throw really good, like, deep bows, those out bows that he used to hit to Chad. You know, Castle was just throwing missiles always. We used to go with Kenny O'Brien, and he was a quarterback coach out in Manhattan Beach. We'd go over there.
Well,
did you throw with any other quarterbacks?
I've never really have, man. I mean, I always was loyal to my quarterbacks, Jules. Unlike you, that's why, you know, Tom loves me the most. He knew you're going out to LA and throwing with 50 different quarterbacks. But I only threw with Tom in the offseason, Hoyer.
I threw with Hoy.
And literally
Jimmy G.
The only other quarterback,
Stidham.
I swear, in my whole entire career that I threw with was Jameis Winston one time.
Where?
Tampa.
In Tampa?
I was in Tampa for an appearance, and I went to Top Golf, and Jameis Winston was there, and I ran into him. And then he's like, yo, I'm throwing tomorrow. You want to throw some routes? And I was like, not a problem, my man. Let's throw some routes. I just met him real quick. That's all we really talked about. I showed up, and we threw some routes, man. And it was just great. I loved him, man. He had a lot of passion for the game. He was
his ball?
He was great. His ball was good, man.
He seems like he's got it's a lot of centrifugal force, a lot of spin.
Yeah, good spin. Couple ducks once in a while, but that was okay as long as the ball got there, you know, the right placement. But that's fine. But what I really liked about him, that he was intrigued that Tom Brady was my quarterback, and he kept asking me questions about Tom because he wanted to learn from Tom. And you could tell, like, he wanted to get better as a player, and he kept bringing up, like, what does Tom do on this play? What does Tom do
What'd
here?
you tell him?
And I just said, hey, this is what Tom does. This is how he places the ball.
You told Tom's information? See, that's
just a little bit.
I
didn't
never
go
said
into depth
anything.
too far. But
everyone asked me, hey, what's Tom? I said, fuck you. I'm not telling you shit.
I never went into depth too far, Jules.
I'm not telling you shit.
Okay?
I won't tell you any. Tom would be so, like, Tom was, whenever we would throw anywhere, it would be like, we'd have, like, Secret Service scanning the fucking field. Tom didn't want anyone to coming in and watching us. Remember that? Like, we'd hop the fence, break laws at UCLA. Alex would be coming over. He'd
There'd be like a helicopter above us, making sure that no one was watching.
It was like
filming.
He did not want anyone watching our fucking practices. He hated it.
Not at all.
I liked it, though. I like that. I like that he
love
didn't
that
like
mentality,
it.
because then it brings bullshit and it brings extra.
We're here to work.
Curricular activities that you don't want because you're just trying to work. So I'm all in for that, and that's being a leader too. Hey, this is work time. Get the fuck away from us. We got to work. We're not taking pictures. We're not signing
Let's get
autographs.
back to Stafford.
Oh, Stafford, you're right.
Whoa. So wait.
Well, first of all, Jameis Winston, I loved him too. He was a great dude. He was fun to throw with, by the way.
I bet.
But back to Stafford. We all know he's a tough SOB, one of the most talented quarterbacks.
What do you got against him?
I got nothing against him. Besides,
when you got traded to Detroit, you said, I'm retiring. I don't want to play with fucking Matthew Stafford. What do you got against him?
I got nothing against him. That wasn't because of Matthew Stafford.
What was it because of?
The only thing against him, I would say, is that he just really's never been to the playoffs, like, you know, a ton of times with that much talent. I mean, that's the only thing that you can argue versus him, but it's because of the teams that I would say he was on. Like in Detroit, the teams were all awful. And then you get to LA, he's going to the playoffs all the time. It just shows that football is a complete game as well. But
I'm just busting your balls.
I know, but what do I have against him? I have nothing against Detroit, Jules. I already talked about what happened in that trade. I was kind of being a very big asshole that year in the offseason. I sure was, you know, and I wanted to be, okay? I thought it was fun. You know, I was just matching the energy in the organization, okay? Hey. So I turned into an asshole. I never knew I had it, but when you're in that organization long enough, you can turn into one. I finally did. Bill called me like 80 times. I didn't answer one of them. Next thing you know, I get a text from my agent, hey, you're traded to the Lions. I was like, I knew that was going to happen because I wasn't answering Bill's calls. I knew he was going to freaking pull a, you know,
and what'd you do?
Mighty power move on me. So then I was like, hey, Drew, you can't trade a guy that just retired. so then Drew hit up Page's organization. Hey, Rob just retired. We're sorry. You can't trade him. And then then it was literally about to go down and break it in the news too, like in like 2 hours. Like the whole trade literally went down without me even knowing. This was right before we won the Super Bowl. It was right after the game. It was off season after we lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl because you got hurt because you're a sissy and you didn't want to play in that game. So we lost because of you, Jules.
ACL.
Yeah.
I practiced that week, remember?
You should
I
have
tried
played.
to.
So then he traded me, but I didn't want to go anywhere. I was just being an asshole. And deep down, I was not leaving Bill. You know, I love you, buddy. I wasn't going to leave you. You know, just a little tension in all relationships. But then we smoothed it out after I said I was retired. And then I came back to the Patriots that year, and it all worked out. We won the Super Bowl. We beat the Los Angeles Rams in Atlanta. Wait, nope.
We beat the Rams.
It was Jared Goff at the time. It
because
wasn't because we beat the Rams. Matthew Stafford got traded to the Rams. So what kind of dude is Matthew Stafford?
I mean, he's definitely got he's got dog tendencies. He acted like a dog in that mic'd up rookie year, breaking his shoulder. He's definitely a dog. He's definitely a stud.
He's a stud. He's more of a stud than a dog. I would say definitely a dog.
First
dog
overall pick,
but stud. I mean,
Mr. Texas in football.
Like he can just sit back in the pocket. Stud just sits back.
Super Bowl win.
You know, combs their hair.
Hall of Fame numbers.
You know, brushes their hair off, brushes their shoulder, and just boom, zips the ball without even knowing. Like
he's also a dude's dude, though.
Right when he processes the guy that's open, kaboom. Kaboom.
I think he invited me to do something right after. Like we met for the first time. He's like, "You want to have some beers?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can't make it." Well, but like, he's that kind of dude. He's definitely a dude's dude.
I never met him though before. So is he a dude's dude, Jules?
I think
or is he a stud?
On threes. 1, 2, 3. Stud. He's definitely a stud.
All right, we're on the same page.
Hats. Hey everyone. Julian Edelman here. There's no better time to enjoy live events. I've had my eyes on NFL playoff tickets, and there's always Bruins and Celtics games for when you're itching to get out of the house and catch some action. That's why I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. They've got more than 70,000 events listed, from concerts and sports to festivals and more. You name it, they've got it. The best part? SeatGeek has your back. Every ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Just look at the green dots. Green means good and red means bad. And every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you're set. And you know I came through for you guys. You can use Dudes10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Dudes10. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. I'll see you out there. Well, let's get into the Chillest Dude of the Week, brought to you by our favorite beer, Coors Light.
Well, Jules, hold on one second. I need a Coors
beer?
Light hat real quick first before we start, because I just love my Coors Light hat. I love this light blue color. It's my favorite, and I feel like I look really good in it, too. So get your Coors Light delivered straight to your door and visit CoorsLight.com/dudes. And please celebrate responsibly out there. Responsible drinkers only, responsible partiers only, just like Julian and I have been our whole entire careers and lives. That's how you party responsibly. You drink responsibly, you party responsibly, you dance responsibly.
And you chill responsibly.
Exactly. So now we have a little new segment here. We're going to vamp a little bit. And this is a new segment. We're going to be highlighting the chillest dudes. We'll each have one every week, Julian. And yes. So that means that's 2 dudes we'll be talking about.
One
so
each.
send in your chillest dude of the week, and we will talk about how chill they are, just like this Coors Light.
Let's get into it.
All right, a lot of chill dudes this week, but nobody chiller than this guy right here. And I'm going to have to explain why. This is the first chillest dude of the week. Jules, let's talk about Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater, chill dude. This is
This is kind of
half court shot here, buddy.
Yeah, this is like.
Explain this to me. Why is he a
This is
chill
like
dude?
you get the fan out of the crowd in a college basketball game, and you're like, "Hey, you win $1 million if you make this shot." Like no one ever thought that we were going to say Teddy Bridgewater
Teddy
as the
Two Gloves.
chillest dude, you know. But I want to tell you why he is the first chillest dude of the week here, because Teddy Bridgewater was a high school head football coach this year.
All year?
I'm pretty sure in the state of Florida.
Wow.
All year. He built a culture at that high school with that football team in Florida. He put his time in. He did his time as well in the NFL, you know, and he got that break, you know, didn't really get a call or anything, goes and coaches as a head coach.
How'd that team do?
Wins the Florida State title.
Jesus.
As the head football coach in high school. And right after the game, he gets interviewed. And guess what he says? I want to go back to the NFL and be a quarterback.
That's pretty chill.
You know how inspiring that is to those high school players and to that community and to that town? And then guess what? He signed to the Lions after 2 years of being out of the NFL as well, and after winning that state championship. And then he led a drive in the playoffs last week.
Yeah.
Against the Commanders.
Goff got lit
for
up.
a touchdown. Yeah, Goff did get lit up. He got absolutely lit up.
And Teddy Two Gloves came in. They score a tug.
Yeah, exactly. He did have 2 gloves on, I think, as
That's
well.
got to be a chill dude.
That's chill. That's chill. That's why this was a half court shot. But now, do you understand why this half court shot was made?
Fully.
Yeah.
Fully. They won $1 million with this one.
And also, what was cool is that Teddy Bridgewater wore Dan Campbell's high school jersey to the stadium for the game as well. I mean, so he won a high school state championship in Florida, and he wore Dan Campbell's high school jersey. So Teddy Bridgewater is a chill dude to these young bucks out there. Obviously, he's a great representative to these young kids. So you got to tip your hat to him for, you know, putting these kids in the right direction as well as a high school football coach. So Teddy, thank you for being so chill, man.
Shout out to Miami Northwestern. Is that Dade County, eh? That's that Dade County, man. Hey, chasing them whitetails. I think that's what they do out there, right? That's what we always heard the guys say. They chase the little rabbits and they catch them. That's how you get your speed.
They do something like that.
They're always fast dudes down there. Shout out Teddy Bridgewater. I'm gonna go with Cliff Kingsbury as my chillest dude. Cliff, I mean, anytime you get an offensive coordinator that gets as much TV time as Cliff with the sunglasses, I mean, guy's cool.
Well, yeah,
I think he was wearing sunglasses in a dome.
That's because he's good looking as well.
But when you're sunny, I guess it's always got
Very good looking.
When you're cool, it's always sunny. When you're cool, it's always sunny. And he's got Jaden Daniels humming right now, and he looks so goddamn chill in these goddamn high pressure situations.
And now he's on the doorstep of a Super Bowl. He's knocking that door down. He just has to win one more game, and then he's there. I mean, Cliff is just a quarterback whisperer as well.
What is he gonna do?
And you gotta be super chill in order to handle all these quarterbacks that he's been handling throughout his whole entire career and taking them to a whole new level. So,
is he going to take a head coach job?
Oh, I'm not sure. I mean, he has the head coach job. He had the head coach job at Arizona.
Does he want to, though? I don't think he wants to.
I don't think so either. But he's still getting paid by the Cardinals, right?
He's making goop.
And now he's getting paid by the Commanders being the offensive coordinator.
Probably little, though.
That's a chill life, though. You can be more chill as an offensive coordinator than being a head coach. Unless if you're a head coach of a high school team, you can still be chill.
And then when you remember watching the draft when he was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and like you saw his house?
Yeah.
Looked like it was Crazy Stupid Love, Ryan Gosling's house. And Ryan Gosling over here in the draft war room with the freaking infinity pool in the background.
I think he had a dog running around as well.
I mean, just a chill guy.
I just wanted to go over there and give him a shoulder massage. So
Man.
he could just be more relaxed.
Eh.
He can't be because he's that chill.
He's so chill.
Yeah.
And that's the chillest dude of the week, thanks to our favorite beer, Coors Light. Get Coors delivered straight to your house, straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/dudes and celebrate responsibly, guys. Well, that's been another episode of Dudes on Dudes. What could we have done better this episode? I don't know. I think we were fired.
I think we were fired up. I would say for all episodes, we got to be fired up. For some episodes, we're not fired up for, Jules. So if we're not fired up for episodes, when we step on the podcasting field right here, and we're not fired up, we should just turn around.
In between the mics.
We should just turn around and just AB ourselves out of here. And then come back again once we're fired up.
And see our way back?
Yeah, but find our way back, though.
I get that. I like it. Well, I think you guys need to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Comment a dude you want us to do. And remember,
Rate and review.
leave 5 stars on Spotify while you're there.
And remember to follow Dudes on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat.
We're back with TikTok.
TikTok's back. It was just down for 24 hours. Got brought back, baby.
We'll see you next
Ooh,
week.
a lot of people were scrambling, but not us. We got a lot of resources of income. Don't just depend on one resource out there coming from financial guru Robbie Gronkowski. If you depend on just one, then you may be screwed in the end.
Multiple verticals. Dudes on Dudes is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
See you next week.